You know someone like this. They walk into a room and the energy shifts.
I know.
They're laughing before anyone else is. Cracking jokes, telling stories, keeping the vibe alive. They're the glue of the group, the one who lightens tension. The one everyone says, I love being around them. But here's the part nobody talks about. Sometimes the loudest laugh is covering the deepest pain. The person who seems the happiest may be fighting battles they never speak about. Battles they don't feel safe sharing. Battles they've learned to hide behind humor. Because laughter is powerful. It distracts. It protects. It keeps people from asking deeper questions. When you're the happy one, people assume you're fine. They assume you're strong. They assume you don't struggle. So you keep performing. You keep smiling. You keep entertaining. You keep carrying everyone else's emotions, while quietly drowning in your own. Tonight, we're pulling back the curtain. We're talking about the psychology behind the funny friend, the emotional armor behind the jokes, and why the people who laugh the most are often the ones hurting the most. Humor is powerful. It builds instant connection. It melts awkwardness. It turns uncomfortable moments into something manageable. A well-timed joke can calm a room faster than a long explanation ever could. But here's the part most people miss. Humor doesn't just connect people. It can protect them. Psychologists often refer to this as deflection through humor, a coping mechanism where someone uses jokes to redirect attention away from their real emotions. Instead of saying, "That hurt me," they laugh it off. Instead of admitting, "I'm overwhelmed," they turn it into a punchline. Instead of showing vulnerability, they perform confidence. Because when people are laughing, they're not looking deeper. They're not asking hard questions. They're not sitting in uncomfortable silence. They're not noticing the cracks. Laughter shifts the focus outward. It keeps the spotlight off the pain, off the insecurity, off the exhaustion. And the more it works, the more they rely on it. Over time, the joke stops being something they do. It becomes who they are. And that's when humor stops being fun and starts becoming armor. For many people, humor didn't start as entertainment. It started as protection. If you grew up in a home where emotions weren't safe, you adapted. Maybe crying was ignored. Maybe fear was laughed at. Maybe anger only made things worse. So you learned quickly. Don't show weakness. But you also learned something else. If you could make people laugh, the tension dropped. If you cracked a joke, the mood shifted. If you became the funny one, you avoided becoming the target. Humor felt safer than honesty. Safer than saying, "I'm hurt." Safer than admitting, "I'm scared." Because vulnerability felt dangerous. Laughter became survival. It brought approval. It earned acceptance. It created protection in unpredictable environments. And the brain remembers what keeps it safe. So that strategy doesn't disappear when childhood ends. It just upgrades. Now, instead of diffusing arguments at the dinner table, you're diffusing discomfort at work, in relationships, in friendships. Instead of hiding from a critical parent, you're hiding from rejection, from judgment, from being seen too clearly. Humor still works, but now it's not just about safety. It's about staying invisible in your pain while looking completely fine on the outside. Have you ever noticed this? The funny friend is almost never the one people worry about. No one pulls them aside and says, "Hey, are you really okay?" Because in everyone's mind, they are. They're strong. They're positive. They're resilient. They don't get down like other people do. At least that's the assumption. But strength can become a trap. When you're the one who keeps everyone laughing, you become the emotional support system. People vent to you, lean on you, call you when they're falling apart. And you show up. Every time. With a joke, with advice, with lightness. But who holds you when you're tired? Who notices when your smile feels forced? Being the strong one is exhausting because you don't get permission to fall apart. You don't get space to be messy. You don't get to say, I can't handle this today. So you carry it quietly. You're surrounded by friends, surrounded by noise, surrounded by laughter you created. And yet, there's a loneliness that comes from being seen as invincible. Because when everyone sees your performance, very few people see you. There's something many people don't recognize until it's too late. It's often called smiling depression. On the outside, everything looks fine. They go to work. They meet deadlines. They answer texts. They show up to birthdays, dinners, and group chats. They laugh at the right moments. They post normal photos. They keep functioning. From the outside, you'd never question it. But internally, it's different. There's heaviness, numbness, and exhaustion that sleep doesn't fix. They feel empty in rooms full of people, disconnected in conversations they're leading. And when the door closes, when the noise fades, when they're finally alone, the laughter disappears, the distractions are gone, and the silence becomes overwhelming. Thoughts get louder. Doubts creep in. Emotions they avoided all day rise to the surface. But they don't talk about it. Because when you've built your identity around being the happy one, admitting you're struggling feels like breaking character. It feels confusing, embarrassing, even shameful. So instead of saying, I'm not okay, they say, I'm just tired, and keep smiling tomorrow. Humor doesn't just entertain. For some people, it protects. It works like emotional armor. If they joke about their trauma first, no one else can weaponize it. If they turn their pain into a punchline, they control the narrative. They decide how it's delivered, how it's perceived, how deep anyone is allowed to go. When you laugh at your own struggles, it creates distance. Distance feels safer than exposure. It feels powerful to say, yeah, my childhood was a mess, with a grin. It feels stronger to say, I have trust issues, and make it sound funny. Because if people are laughing, they're not pitying you. They're not probing. They're not digging into wounds you're not ready to open. But armor has weight, and wearing it every single day, in every conversation, in every relationship, in every vulnerable moment, is exhausting. You can't relax in armor. You can't fully connect in armor. You can't breathe deeply in armor. Eventually, the shield that once protected you starts isolating you, and even the strongest emotional armor cracks under constant pressure. Here's something people rarely say out loud. The ones who joke the most are often the most emotionally aware. They read the room in seconds. They notice the slight shift in someone's tone. They catch the tension before anyone names it. They know when a friend is stressed, when a partner is overwhelmed, when the energy feels off. And because they're so aware, they care deeply. They don't want to be the reason the mood drops. They don't want to add weight to someone else's heavy day. So when they're struggling, they downplay it. They tell themselves, everyone's already dealing with something. I can handle this on my own. It's not that serious. I don't want to be dramatic. But it is serious. It matters. Their feelings matter. Still, they push it down. They become the listener instead of the speaker, the supporter instead of the supported. the comic relief instead of the honest voice. They carry anxiety quietly. They process pain privately. They cry where no one can see, and then they walk back into the room. Smile wide, crack a joke, and pretend they're lighter than they feel. For many people, the happy personality didn't just appear. It was trained, conditioned, built in childhood, in homes where tension lived in the air, where arguments sparked without warning, where emotions felt unpredictable. Someone had to stabilize the room. And often it was the child who learned to smile. They became the mediator, the distraction, the emotional shock absorber. When voices got louder, they cracked a joke. When silence felt heavy, they filled it with laughter. When adults argued, they shifted the mood, not because it was cute, because it worked. It reduced conflict. It bought peace. It created temporary safety. Over time, that role stopped being something they did. It became who they were. I'm the funny one. I'm the easygoing one. I'm the one who keeps things light. And people reinforced it. They were praised for it, rewarded for it, expected to maintain it. But here's the question no one asks. What happens when the peacekeeper feels overwhelmed? When the distraction needs comfort? When the funny one is falling apart? They don't know how to ask for help. Because growing up, no one taught them that their pain deserved attention too. Opening up sounds simple. Just talk about it. Just be honest. Just tell someone how you feel. But for the person who's always been the strong one, it doesn't feel simple at all. It feels risky. What if people stop seeing them as stable? What if their vulnerability makes others uncomfortable? What if the people who rely on their strength suddenly feel uncertain? When your identity has been built around being upbeat, resilient, and unshakable, showing cracks feels like collapsing the whole image, and that image becomes a brand. You're the positive one, the funny one, the one who doesn't get emotional. So when something actually hurts deeply, it feels safer to stay in character, because breaking that role can feel like breaking trust, like you're letting people down, like you're no longer who they expect you to be. So you protect the brand. You smile through heartbreak. You joke through stress. You downplay your struggles, even when it's costing you sleep. Even when it's costing you peace, even when it's quietly breaking you from the inside, because maintaining the image feels easier than risking being truly seen. But here's the part we need to reframe. Laughing through pain isn't weakness, it's resilience. It takes strength to walk into a room carrying heartbreak and still make everyone else feel comfortable. It takes emotional control to feel overwhelmed and still handle your responsibilities, to show up, to perform, to support others. That's not fragility. That's discipline. People who use humor to survive have developed a powerful skill. They can regulate themselves under pressure. They can compartmentalize. They can keep moving forward even when they feel heavy inside. But here's the truth no one talks about. Resilience without support turns into burnout. When you're always the strong one, you don't get rest. When you're always the light in the room, you don't get to dim. And strength without softness becomes isolation. Because if you never let anyone see you struggle, no one knows when to step in. Even the strongest person needs a safe place to land. A space where they don't have to perform. A moment where they can exhale. Strength is powerful, but shared strength is sustainable. And no one, no matter how resilient, was meant to carry everything alone. If someone in your life is always the one making jokes, Pay attention to the pauses, not just the punchlines. Notice what happens when the room gets quiet. Do they instantly fill the silence? Do they brush off serious questions with sarcasm? Do they redirect the conversation when it gets too personal? Watch how they respond when you ask, "How are you really?" Do they give a quick, polished answer? Do they turn it back on you? Do they laugh instead of reflect? Sometimes the loudest laugh is a distraction, a way to keep people entertained, so they don't look too closely. And sometimes the person who checks on everyone else, the one sending the "Are you okay?" texts, the one giving advice and lifting spirits, is silently hoping someone will ask them the same question and mean it. Look beyond the humor. You might see a heart that's been carrying more than it ever admits. Here's the truth. Laughter isn't always joy. Sometimes it's protection. Sometimes it's distraction. Sometimes it's survival. Not every smile means someone is okay. Not every joke means something doesn't hurt. So if you're the one who laughs the loudest, the one who keeps everyone else comfortable, the one who hides your heaviness behind humor,
I need to see you.
I know.
you don't have to keep doing it alone. You're allowed to be real. You're allowed to be tired. You're allowed to say, "I'm not okay." And if someone in your life is always the happy one, don't just enjoy the entertainment. Pause. Look closer. Ask deeper. Because the strongest smile in the room may be holding back tears no one has noticed. And sometimes the people who make the world lighter for everyone else are just waiting for someone to make it lighter for them.